Children, today we are going to learn a new topic, a poem called Vocation. I have already told you to copy down the poem in your notebook. I hope all of you have copied down. So, first thing we need to know is the meaning of vocation. Vocation in Mizo is natho, temkal na big, okay? A kind of job which requires special commitment. So, let's read and explain the poem. On your way to school or market, you may see people at work. In pairs, discuss what you have noticed. Then read this poem. You may read it aloud with a partner if you like. So, since we cannot have proper classes, I'm going to read and explain the poem to you. Alright? This poem is written by Rabindranath Tagore. That's the first thing you need to know. And in the poem, a child speaks about his wishes and his aspirations. It shows the innocence of a child's mind, how he gets attracted to the ways of people around him, but he is not actually aware of the tough routine of these people. So, this is written in free verse and it is narrated in the first person. The narrator seems to be a boy who observes different people at work during his day. Alright, so let's read the poem. When the gong sounds 10 in the morning and I walk to school by our lane, every day I meet the hawker crying, bangles, crystal bangles. So, the child said that when the gong struck and made a sound to declare the first part of the day, it was 10 o'clock. He said that this was also the time for him to go to school. On his way to school, he used to watch a salesman who would shout bangles, crystal bangles, to sell his bangles. There is nothing to hurry him on, there is no road he must take, no place he must go to, no time when he must come home. So while looking at him, the child had a thought that the vendor was free. He was in no hurry to reach anywhere, unlike the poet who had to reach his school on time and come back home. He thought that the bangle seller was free of any time constraints. He was not bounded by time. Okay? He was free to move to any place, unlike him. He felt as if he was under strict observation and while the vendor was enjoying complete freedom. So he wished to be a vendor. Now, I wish I were a hawker, spending my day in the road crying, bangles, crystal bangles. So, the child was so impressed by his freedom, the bangle seller's freedom, that he wished to be a hawker. He wished to move freely and shout just like him in the streets. When at 4 in the afternoon I come back from the school, I can see through the gate of that house the gardener digging the ground. So, in these lines, the child, after coming back from school at 4 in the afternoon, noticed the gardener through the gate of the house. He would peep out and notice him digging soil. He does what he likes with his spade. He soils his clothes with dust. Soils mean he dirty his clothes. He stain his clothes with dust. But nobody takes him to task. That means nobody criticizes him because of that. Nobody scolds him because of that. If he gets baked in the sun or gets wet, so nobody criticizes him for staying out too long in the sun or for getting wet or for staining his shirt. I wish I were a gardener digging away at the garden with nobody to stop me from digging. The child was attracted by the freedom of the gardener to be in the dust and to do the things of his choice with his tools. He thought that the gardener had the freedom to dirty his clothes with soil, play with his tools, stay in the sun for longer hours, get wet with sweat, or do anything, and he was not getting any punishment for all this, whereas he would have been punished if he was in the place of the gardener. So Completely unaware of the hardships of the worker, the child was attracted to a gardener to do things of his choice, and no one around to stop him. Just as it gets dark in the evening and my mother sends me to bed, I can see through my open window the watchman walking up and down. The lane is dark and lonely. The street lamp stands like a giant with one red eye in its head. So at night, when the child was sent to bed, sent to sleep by his mother in his room, and from the open window he would notice a watchman walking here and there from one side to the other in the dark, in the lonely street. And the watchman had a lantern in his hands, and there was also a street light which looked to him like a Superman with a red eye in its head. So the watchman swings his lantern and walks with his shadow at his side, and never once goes to bed in his life. So the watchman would move his lamp from one side to the other. His shadow was also visible on his side while he walked, and the child thought that the watchman would never have slept at night all his life. I wish I were a watchman walking the street all night, chasing the shadows with my lantern. So the child was so attracted to the moves of the watchman that he wished to be a watchman who could walk all night in the streets, running after his shadows with a lantern in hand. So the child first wished to be a hawker, and then he wished to be a gardener, and then a watchman. Alright, I hope you have understood, and after you watch the video, after you listen to the explanation, I want you to copy down the notes. Alright, that is all for today. Thank you.